Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome.
What up, y'all? This Tone Talks in the building. We're gonna have a good discussion today. Y'all know what I'm hitting today. Y'all know I gotta talk about it. Everybody this week fired up about this Jay-Z being a billionaire thing. I wanted to touch on it because I think in a lot of ways this gives us a time to do reflection on what wealth means in America and how we should view wealth. We at Dash Radio, Dash Talk X. Please use the super chat. We're gonna bounce on in here. We're gonna have this discussion. My Mevo battery is a little low. Hopefully we get through the show. But we gonna have it today, you know. We're gonna try to get this whole discussion going. I'm gonna give y'all a chance to call in. If the Mevo go out, just call in on just log in on Dash Radio, Dash Talk X. Oh man. So, you know, Jay-Z was announced as a billionaire. And black folks went crazy. Black folks started running around like we just won the lottery. And I wanted to have a brief discussion so we can give some context on how you supposed to react when you ain't got no wealth when we announce that there's billionaires. People gonna say, Tone, you hating. And what I'm gonna say is I'm here to have that discussion so you can understand. Part of what makes everything change is you understanding your positionality. And right now in America, a lot of black folks just don't understand where they at with everything. A lot of black Americans don't understand what it means that we only have 2.6% of the wealth and that 90% of it is in white hands. And that when you look at black America, 10% of our families, we got 20 million families, 2 million families have almost 75% of that 2.6. The next group has another 15%, the next 10%. So the top 20% of black families have 90% of the black wealth. That is not a moment to celebrate. That is a moment to get courageous, to start understanding your wealth position, to understand the impact that has on you and your family. Look, in a lot of instances, I think that wealth had done drove us crazy. It don't matter if 30, if 100, if 1,000 people stand outside in the rain looking at the sky talking about how warm the sun is. It's still raining. And that's kind of where we at. It's like black folks all across Twitter was out here talking about congratulations like they know Hov. Like that's they like it's a good thing for black folks. I want to have it today. Tone Talks up in here. Dash Radio, Dash Talk X. When I say YouTube, I'm talking about the super chat and YouTube because we got people in there. We're going to have about 1,500, 2,000 people on the super chat. And I look to have about 1 million people listening on Dash Radio, Dash Talk. I think for me, as I start to unpack this discussion, in a lot of ways, we done went crazy. We done went deranged. We don't understand the impact on our lives of us not having wealth. And I can't help but start with a whole understanding before I get to the questions of what Jay-Z actually did here. Half the money is liquor. Half the billion is liquor. 7% of the money is from Uber investment. Another 7% is from art. You know what happens when wealth calcifies, like we seen right now? What happens when wealth calcifies is things like art jump. So you benefit from the fact that wealth calcifies. Now, I'm not here to say that Jay-Z created or creates the struggles of black folks or poor folks, but he is a beneficiary and as a result against poor folks. I don't care how many singular people he gets up out of jail. And for me, I'm starting to see that we can't unpack that. We can't have that discussion. Because what happens is instead of looking at it from a real point of view, understanding, y'all gonna make me pull that chart up. In the final version, y'all gonna make me pull that chart up where I show you that America, when you compare it against the highest wealth calcified societies in the last 11,000 years, is the highest. They use something called the Gini coefficient. Level 1 is the highest inequality. 0 is the least inequality. When you look Egypt, when you look at 1300 Great Britain with knights and lords, when you look across time, all those societies were at like a 0.61 or lower. Today, the America you live in is at a 0.81. Your family cannot survive at a 0.81. because that means that there's not going to be enough programs, not enough government protections, not enough labor protections for you to survive. But you celebrate because he pulled himself up from his bootstraps. We not here to play. It's just another level to this thing. One of the things that I'm starting to see is people don't understand. On YouTube, definitely, nobody can get with me on this. Because I'm going from the ghetto to Federal Reserve. From the ghetto to the Federal Reserve. See, there's a few people that understand the Federal Reserve. There's people in the hood that get the hood. But ain't nobody connecting it and telling y'all the disconnect between the two. I'm saying this to you today because we all celebrated. We celebrated. Let me read a couple crazy tweets. I want to make sure that we get in here with these tweets. Praise George, at Praise George. Jay-Z is a billionaire, has no degrees, no paper qualifications, but has lots of money. Don't follow the mindless crowd. Come on, man. That's what this mean? That's what this mean? It mean that we gonna say that we don't need to get an education. That's what this bro saying. You cannot eat degrees, develop and deploy your skill set. This raceless bootstrapperism is something that I did a study with Sandy Darity. We talk about it. Go pick it up on the Duke website. We not playing. Leading stratification economists in the nation came up with it. The study of wealth between people and between generations. Sandy Darity. We did this report. It's on the Duke website. I did an article on Fortune. What this man just said on this tweet makes no sense. Our problem is not grounded in the fact that degrees don't create wealth. The fact that we're black and they shut us out of wealth is our problem. So somebody would say, well, then Jay-Z is black too. And I say to you, that's a singular occurrence. See, I want to read a couple more tweets, but we're going to get into why black people normally, why black people celebrate wealth or the achievement of wealth. Part of the reason that they celebrate wealth normally is because what it represents is that we have arisen as a group. It's a signal or indicator in the 60s and the 70s when they're sharing wealth, when they're forcing labor's unions to be represented by people, to be represented by unions, and when they negotiate rather than as individuals. Let's read another tweet. Devontae Harris, Jay-Z being the first hip hop artist to become a billionaire is legendary. As Jay-Z once said, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Well, numbers can't lie. And that's what we see right here. See, one of the things about hip hop, when you go back, see, what you gotta understand is, like, we took that when an artist got signed or artist went platinum, that the next person could do that too. You can't plug that into Jay-Z becoming wealthy from tax cuts or Jay-Z getting wealthy from Uber. It don't mean there's gonna be a next person. It don't mean that, Devontae. See, I don't think that we taught our children anything but how to be sand and salt. We glued them together with aspirations, sent them out into a world that is so windy it will blow them apart if we don't start talking about it. And I want to talk about it today because I want to make sure y'all understand. Tone Talks, Dash Radio, Dash Talk X, join the super chat. Please support on the super chat. I want to have this discussion. Let's read another tweet from Puhul. I guess his name is RM Puhul. Okay, wait, Jay-Z becoming the first billionaire hip hop ever produced is crazy on its own. What I didn't know is that Jay-Z is now the 5th black billionaire America's ever seen. This is crazy and it's inspiring. The fact that wealth calcifies is not inspirational for anyone that's poor. Somebody would say, you don't know he's poor. And again, I'll say to you, pull it up again, bottom half of the race worth less than $1. 80% of black America is worth less than nothing. So maybe he's a unicorn attached to a boomer riding that wave all the way to the top. But I'm telling you, most likely this kid is here poor. And that's the case for a lot of us because they locked the lack of wealth into our race. And we decided to escape rather than confront the realities of what that means for ourselves and for our children and for our parents. I want to have this discussion today because it's necessary. It's necessary to unpack what Jay-Z means. We having it out today, Dash Radio. Look, there's one more tweet. I'm gonna share that one a little later. I want to read the questions. You know, we do this by question. Let's bounce. Number one, why does it matter Jay-Z is a billionaire if black America is wealthless? I just gave y'all the data, just the basic data. Middle black family in this country is worth $1,700. not liquid, $1,700 without depreciating assets. Take out that car, the family car, and all the TV and the clothes, $1,700. Liquid, it might, you know, in Boston it's $8. We went through this. LA is $200, which means it's largely zero. Number two, what is the normal view of the rich by the poor when wealth is extremely unequal? We're going to go through that. Number three, does Jay-Z benefit from Trump? Despite all the Obama like proclamations he done made, is this man sitting there and be benefiting from Trump? Does it matter if you vote for the Democrat if at the end of the day you benefit extremely at a high level from the Republican policies? Come on, let's talk. Number four, how does Jay-Z contrast to Byron Allen? What is the difference? I want to give y'all a little breakdown. You know, I talked to Byron personally a few years ago. I ain't talked to him in a few years. My view on billionaires has gotten worse, to be honest. But at the same time, channels represented a possibility of a black media where we could actually expose the world to something different. A possibility. Liquor represents nothing but failure to me. I'm sorry. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the difference between telling black folks that anything is possible versus telling black folks that it's economic genocide. Y'all can catch the video. The message is what matters. Y'all didn't even know that I was trying to get Byron to sue the school district, the whole school district across the whole America, the Secretary of Education under Obama. I'm trying to push for policy. ADOS is only one of many things that I've been trying to do. I ain't here to talk about nobody selling liquor or taking advantage of people driving Uber that are desperate because there's too much labor, not enough work. But I am here to break this down because I think what we're confronting is a craze and a manic behavior that in the end will destroy this race and destroy these families and destroy these communities if left unchecked. Let's talk about it today. Oh, man. This is Tone Talks again. If you got any problems with the video, you can go to you can go to Dash Radio. We on Dash Talk too. For me, in some ways, I think I can't help but look at this through the last question. Number 5. What is the psychology behind the black poor praising Jay-Z? Decade in Veil. Y'all know I did that article, Decade in Veil. I talked about it. I had many issues with the fact that black celebrity was rising. Myth 9 in the report I mentioned to you earlier is a breakdown of how celebrity created part of this allure and this idea that black people had arrived inside of wealth. We having this discussion today because it's necessary. Because we don't understand that we sound crazy most of the time to anybody that has some money. The last tweet that I wanted to share with you is from a young woman, Khaleesi. Dear financially struggling people all ages, Jay-Z was a very, very successful drug dealer that amassed $900,000 to invest in himself at 26 and is now a billionaire. Moral of the story is money makes money. Is that what we become? Is that what happened? Do you even know what happened? I know what happened, and I'm not talking about from guessing. See, like, people be on the outside. One of the things that I say to y'all, let's put all the legalese and all the economics to the side. If Jay-Z is your uncle, like your one-to-one uncle, and he came up like this, and you really like seen him grind, and y'all done sat and talked for hours, I'm talking about one-to-one, I can at least kind of get it. It's still wrong. But I don't understand if you don't know him, like the kind of craziness of all this. See, y'all got to understand with Allen, I used to talk to him for like 3 hours and 3 hours. I'm talking about like 2 a.m. about how this money move. Somebody that bought the Weather Channel with cash. So, hey, you need to tell these black folks that ain't no money out here, bro. You know, hey, you need to get on this YouTube because ain't nobody else. Oprah quiet. We need to get hey, you need to tell Obama that he need to come off them small business loans. That's what this is about. Hey, them channels you getting, you need to open them up. I can't force nobody to do nothing. You need to get some black media going. You need to buy that griot. We ain't playing. See, I'm not talking to nobody on no distant level. And so I think for a lot of y'all think y'all know Jay-Z and ain't never talked to the man. All you know is half his money is from liquor. So you'll sit up and talk about how you hate crack dealers, rightfully so, if that's the case, you know, from what they did to the community. then you'll look at him and talk about progress, but not understand black families have been destroyed by crack and they've been destroyed by liquor. So if you got this moral compass, you got to have it consistently, or you don't end up as nobody at all. Let's talk today. Jay-Z a billionaire, y'all. We celebrating. We celebrating the fact that Jay-Z done made it good. He done made it out the neighborhood. And I think for a lot of us, we don't understand what's going on. Let's read from this Forbes article. This Forbes article talks about Jay-Z. It's clear that Jay-Z has accumulated a fortune that conservatively totals $1 billion, making him one of only a handful of entertainers to become a billionaire. Jay-Z's steadily growing kingdom is expansive, encompassing liquor, art, real estate, and stakes in companies like Uber. So he took $2 million and made it $70 million in his investment in Uber. Let's back up and talk about what Uber is. It's not a car service. It's not a car service. It is a tool to manipulate the fact that there's desperation in the market. It is a tool to manipulate the fact that black folks and Mexicans and poor white folk don't have no jobs that are unionized. It is a tool to make sure that profits go to the company over the individual. Understand that in 1985, the corporate share of income and profits and stuff was like 3%. It's at a record high. They just did an article on CNN today that they taking home 10% of the profits. That's how he got rich. And somebody would say, well, that's not his fault. Yeah, it's his fault, but not alone. But what I'm talking about right now is you celebrating that while you drive Uber tonight and get underpaid with no union, no protections. And that's how he got rich. Let's talk. Let's unpack this thing. So Jay-Z's wealth, let's break it all down. It's this, it's this champagne or something. Armand de Bronx, that's the biggest part. That's $300 million. All speculative. You got the cash investments, $220 million. One part of $70 million of that is Uber. You got the next thing is another liquor, a cognac, $100 million. Title is $100 million supposedly, but I don't know nobody with title. So these speculations is kind of interesting. Next thing is Rock Nation. I heard that they laying people off. They got that at $75 million. Let's talk. His music catalog, that's what everybody signed up for, is only $75 million of the money. The art is $70 million all of a sudden, and the real estate is $50. That's the money. For me, in a lot of ways, I think what we doing is we making up the world, because we need the world to be different than it is for black folks. We need this to project our potential. We need Jay-Z to be real so that we can tell ourselves that we on the right path, when the whole society is telling us that this is on the wrong path. Number two, let's go right into it. What is the normal view of the rich when wealth is extremely unequal? I told everybody to read the article. If you ain't read it yet, make sure you pull it up before you finish this video. Stop right here and read the whole article, then come back and finish the video. It's called Return of the Oppressed. From the Roman Empire to our Gilded Age, inequality moves in cycles. The future looks like a rough ride. Again, Return of the Oppressed by Peter Turchin, Turchin. In this article, what he talks about, and I'm going to read some sections, is how cyclical this is. Let's bring the chart up again. Chart going to show that America is the most unequal place possibly in modern history. See, this article shows that what happens when it gets extremely unequal is the pitchforks come out. The poor come out with their pitchforks. And what those pitchforks tell the rich is that it is a dangerous time, and that therefore you give them policy. That's how white folks got the New Deal. It wasn't just like we feel good for white folks, we're going to let them own the homes. Well, we in the middle of a way more unequal time than even the Depression, but we celebrating when they announced that he became a billionaire, Jay-Z. These are all signals to tell capital that we are right. We in control. You might not think that. You might not want to say that, But I'm telling you, when you look at everything from quantitative easing under Obama, again, under Obama, we went from 4.5 million white millionaires to around about 10 to 11 million white millionaires in a matter of 3 years because of stock market quantitative easing. Go look it up. I'm not playing. To the tax cuts under Trump that gave us the opportunity zones that Nipsey had and also gave us Jay-Z's increase in wealth. It ain't on accident that he's a billionaire the year after Trump's tax cuts. And I'm saying all this just to say to y'all what's supposed to happen when they show you this in a functional like group is you get angry that you don't have enough. Not so much just angry at Jay-Z, but angry at wealth itself. See, it ain't no lottery win that's gonna fix your community. It's a push towards a black agenda and towards reparations, towards a correction that uplifts the group. See, what's happening is that a lot of y'all was raised by boomers or young boomers. And during that era, I've shown you this chart I'm showing you now. Wealth wasn't as calcified. The article I'm telling you about, Return of the Oppressed, actually calls this the Great Compression. 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 That is an era during which they forced rich people to pay taxes in the upwards of like 60 and 70% on $1 million. So that then your grandmama could own a home. See, in that moment, what ended up happening is that shared wealth led to the unions that your grandmama lives on today through her pension. The same unions that are gone because there is no pension for you. Let's talk. Y'all driving Uber tonight and celebrating Jay-Z at the same time. Your family can't eat, and you don't think it's his fault because he didn't decide that Uber was going to have the policies they had. I just want to tell y'all today that what's supposed to happen is backwards. Y'all all standing outside in the rain with your summer shorts on, looking in the sky, talking about it's warm. And it's raining like a monsoon. It's okay. You can stay out there as long as you want, but you're going to get sick. You might pass out. You might not make it through the night. What I'm saying to you today is that this article, Return of the Oppressed, what it kind of talks about, in this article was written in like 2013, 2014, is what's supposed to happen. He said that we're the first generation to kind of conceive the unequalness because we had Google and we have the wealth data, but we didn't do the right things after this. Obama did next to nothing. He actually increased it because under Obama, we got Uber. Understand that Trump's tax cuts is before we had wealth calcification cross where the bottom 90 and the top 0.1 have the same amount of wealth. So we don't even have the policy to shift it in the other direction. We can't afford this as black folks. I want to give y'all a call in 323-230-4610. This is Dash Radio, Dash Talk X. Please go on the super chat. Use the super chat. Support this channel. I want to have this discussion because it's more than a necessary one. I think for a lot of people, they just want to be rich at all expenses. I don't care what I'm selling. And none of it makes sense. Let's take the first caller tonight. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Tone, this is Mike calling from Atlanta, Georgia.
What up, Mike? Let me take you through this, man. I'm going to read you some stuff, all right? We going through this little article, Return of the Oppressed. It was such a powerful piece because it kind of frames that this unequalness that we see right now, according to Piketty, Thomas Piketty of the economist from France, this is the most unequal thing we've ever seen. But black folks out here celebrating and acting like this is just a game. What he said is, first we need to think about jobs. Unless other forces intervene, an overabundance of labor will tend to drive down its prices, which naturally means that workers and their families have less to live on. That's what we see with Uber. Give me your thoughts on Jay-Z.
Tone, my thoughts on Jay-Z, of course, we know where he made his money is in direct conflict to, black families, black communities, as far as decimating them. But one thing I want to say for all the people that that watch the NBA, the thing that happened with the Warriors minority owner, he was fined $500,000 for his actions at the game the other night. Just imagine this man is a minority owner and he gets fined $500,000. How many black families? Anybody have $500,000?
No, I'll tell you right now how many. Less than 5% of. Let me tell the data. You ask. See, like the problem is that we talk, and this is. I'm not trying to cut you off. Let's talk. 5% of black households have more than 350. So we talking 3% or something have more than 500, and we talking that's not liquid. That's everything they have. So liquid, there might be 1% of black family that have 500,000 or 600, 700,000 liquid, not to give to the team. There are no black folks. It's nominal. I'm talking about a few thousand that can, and the amount that can cut it off and not think about it. I don't even think Byron could do that, or Jay-Z. 500,000 is a rip for Jay-Z. Come on.
So this is a man. He's not Jay-Z. He's not Byron. He's just a regular white guy sitting on a front row seats can afford to give away $500,000. Man, we got to be crazy.
He gonna get it back. Let me read something to you. Today, this is from the same article, Return of the Oppressed. The top 1% of incomes in the United States account for 1/5 of U.S. earnings. Again, this is 2014, so it's gotten extremely worse. The top 1% of fortunes hold 2/5 of the total wealth. Just one rich family, the 6 heirs of the brothers of the Walton founders, Walmart, are worth more than the bottom 40% of America. Now, let me frame this. There's an article came out last week that I used at the end of the show that shows that the bottom 50% of America is living on less than 1% of the wealth. The bottom 50%. To not be in the bottom 50%, you need to be worth $140,000, $130,000 net after all your loans and everything. The only black families that are worth more than that are boomers, like older retiree blacks, outside of a few unicorns that are hooked to a boomer. So what we see is that this group, this wealthless group of millennials that went to college, don't know that you are in a permanent debt state and that you need a transformation in government and society to project you to where you should be as ADOS, as American descendants of slavery. Any last thing you want to say to the audience?
The only thing I want to say, Tone, to the audience is that, we need more people to get online, to get in this fight, because our families, our communities will not survive. Will not survive. Like you just said, we are in a debt state, and that's 50 and under. 50 and under. So yeah. I'm glad to see you and Yvette and all the ADOS this October in Louisville. Let's keep up the fight.
Oh, thank you so much for calling. You know I love my callers. Article comes out, says America's 1% hasn't controlled this much wealth since the Great Depression. It's actually worse now. It's actually worse now. The top 1% took home 22% of all income in 2015. In 2015, the top 1% of Americans made 26 times as much income as the bottom 99%. You might ask, what does this have to do with Jay-Z? And if you gotta ask that question, then you ain't following who you need to be following. Black America is largely constituted of black working poor people because we've been locked out, locked under, made a bottom caste. The reason we celebrated wealth in the 60s and 70s is because those indicated a potential of us rising up. It doesn't mean that anymore. Let me put it in layman's terms. When I pull up the chart, I show you that the bottom 90%, the top 0.1%, same amount of wealth during the Depression. The bottom 90% was taking home 36% in 82, 83. The top 0.1 only had 7% of the wealth. By the time we get to our time right now, both groups taking home the same amount of wealth again. With, I believe, the real, certain future, the bottom 90 is going to take home less. We're going to be fighting over crumbs, really crumbs. Now, what you ask, you might say, what does that mean? Well, let me explain it in people. See, they didn't start coming out with the Forbes list until 82. That's the first one. In the first Forbes list, there were 12 billionaires. And even that's too many. We don't need billionaires. There were 12. Today in America, there are nearly 1,000. Just billionaires. Framing that for you, white folks have 83 million homes, almost 15% or 13 million are worth $1 million or more. A full million of white homes are worth 10 million or more. They control all the resources. That's that million white homes. Now, let's go back to this 82 Forbes. The richest man in America, he basically owns some shipping ports. We didn't know who he was, and he's worth $2 billion. That's it, relatively speaking. Today, the richest man in America is Jeff Bezos from Amazon. He don't own no shipping ports. And he's worth $160 billion. But part of the interesting part of this thing isn't just the gross gap between the two, the gross gap between the volume of billionaires, but it's what they own. See, Jay-Z owns some stuff and they just told us it's worth $1 billion. But it ain't real. Meaning it's liquor, but it's speculative to how you know that's worth $300 million. It ain't like shipping ports or orange groves or it's all just like, we just gonna tell you that it's worth all this. Again, this is Dash Radio, Dash Talk X, 323-230-4610. Part of what we understanding right now is that black folks, that white folks, that Americans across them don't really get that we need to understand the context and the consequence of this wealth gap. From 1800, and I'm reading from the Return of the Oppressed article again, from 1800 to the 1920s, inequality increased more than 100-fold. Then came the reversal from 1920 to 1980. It shrank back to levels not seen since the mid-19th century. Over that time, the top fortunes hardly grew. Yet the wealth of a typical family increased 40-fold. From 1980 to the present, the wealth gap has seen another steep, erratic rise. The rich got richer. Commentators have called the period from 1920 to 1970 the Great Compression. I told y'all that earlier. And they call this past 30 years the Great Divergence. What I'm telling you today is that when you celebrated Jay-Z becoming a billionaire, you celebrated your own failure and the Great Divergence. It's not just him, but he is a reflection of the fact that when Trump made tax cuts, that those tax cuts went into his wallet and that his art increased because the rich had so much wealth. Let me give you an example. At the Beamer dealership, they had a i8 in the Beamer dealership. That's the little one that's blue, the Ferrari looking car. I'm talking to the guy and he says to me, well, we used to not see any of these, but now we sell one a month. See, what you're seeing is the rich have so much wealth that the elite goods, like a piece of art, are jumping. We just saw that with the planes. Saw that with the planes and with Drake and all that. The rich have so much wealth, the companies have so much wealth that if you rich and you got rich stuff, you benefit from the tax cuts, just secondarily. In addition, come on, let's talk about it. Let's walk down it. You own a company in Jay-Z, 7% of the wealth, that benefits from nothing more than oppression and acts of taking advantage of desperation in Uber. So somebody would say, should he not own Uber? Yeah, he shouldn't own Uber. Somebody might say, well, the government, the companies made Uber. No, Obama made Uber. Under Obama's Secretary of Labor, he laxed out the laws where you're supposed to not be able to use 1099 contracting laws in this loophole way where you don't actually be a company. Uber is supposed to be a real company, and a real company then has to have allow unionization, pay unemployment, allow a review process. If the white woman that gets in your car or the black woman or the black man that gets in your car and gives you a bad review, you can go to a union and they can fight for you and get you treated fairly so that you don't get taken advantage of by Hertz or Enterprise when they selling you the car and make you pay $800 a month so you end up working for your own car. Come on, let's talk about how you make that money, that $70 million. This is Tone Talks, and we talking because a lot of people celebrated Jay-Z becoming a billionaire, but we didn't talk about that liquor. We didn't talk about the Ace of Spades and all of the black aspiration in every bottle. Some people gonna say it ain't just black people buying it. That's built by black people and built by black aspiration at its root. Get honest with it. That's how you put it in the videos and all of that. I wanted to have this discussion because I think in a lot of ways we gotta unpack this thing. We gotta unpack that Jay-Z, that wealth is a lot of our enemies. Now, I'm not saying that we don't want to see communities. I said this before. They asked what's better than one billionaire with Puffy, and they had a picture of Jay-Z than two billionaires. No, what's better than both of that is a black community that creates black people that own their homes, that have retirement, that have life insurance, that are American in an America that we built, that our families built. For a lot of us, I don't think we ready. I don't think we ready to get honest about wealth and what's going on. We want to play. We want to play with what's going on. We want to play with the numbers. Again, 323-230-4610. I think for me, you know, I looked at it all week and I tried to understand, and I let's go straight to number 4 and I'll come back to number 3. And I think it's such a problem because people will say, well, you celebrated Byron being a billionaire. You celebrated Byron. What's wrong with that? It's the same thing. And I say to you this, first of all, it's 2-3 years ago. Second of all, what I met Byron on was the idea that we were going to approach the fact that Obama had underdelivered to black folks. That we were going to approach the fact that Obama had led to a decrease in the small business loans to black folks. We wrote an article together on the Huffington Post, and that was given to Obama. Understand that the other thing I wanted to illuminate was the fact that these channels were locking us out of wealth. Charter, Comcast, that was the aura of everything that was going on. He was a reflection of our limitations and how blackness and race today was being shut out. He was using slave laws to try to get channels. Come on, y'all want to talk about it? Let's talk. Different than liquor. Understand that the last part of this is the most important. I wanted a black billionaire to tell y'all, because y'all need the messenger, that is economic genocide out here. Because Jay-Z ain't going to tell y'all. I would love to, Jay-Z, you're welcome to come on Tone Talks on Dash Radio, sit down here and talk about like black folks and how they shut out. But every time I hear you, it's bootstrap. Because I don't even know if you know. Because I don't think you negotiate the deals. See, like when you get to sit down with somebody and really talk to them, you find out real fast whether they really know what's going on with this money. See, I'll tell you this. One thing that I picked up real fast from Alan, same dude that bought the Weather Channel, is he understood that he was black. Y'all can talk about who he married to and all that. Y'all had that opinion. I'm dealing with right now the reality of why black media is important. The limitations on blackness. See, part of the reason that it's hard to even establish black media is because y'all love black celebrity. So y'all say, why you gotta talk about Jay-Z? Because you ever seen somebody put a vitamin in the middle of a dog bone so that the dog eat the vitamin? This is how y'all digest the same message. So I'm gonna pack it this way. Then you'll eat it and then you'll understand. If you don't be frustrated and try to just eat the dog bone and then spit out the vitamin. I'm trying to tell y'all that the reaction you had to Jay-Z becoming wealthy was the reaction you should have had to Jay-Z not becoming wealthy. You should have been wishing for his wealth to shrink, because as his wealth shrinks, what ends up happening is that's fed back into the system and your taxes go down and your programs go up and your blackness elevates. Let's talk. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hey, how you doing? This is Jabari. I'm from New York.
Jabari, give me your take on this whole thing.
All right.
Give me your take on this whole thing.
I don't have a take. My thing is I'm in the process of acquiring real estate, like multifamily real estate. My question is there a way I can have multifamily real estate without displacing my people? Because I know if I acquire real estate, a lot of times people gentrify. I want to be able to provide affordable housing explicitly for ABOS. Is that possible?
You asking me like I'm Dave Ramsey? Let me tell you this. Look, I'm just being straight with you. Look, we all learning together. I'm gonna tell you straight. I ain't never had no affordable housing or no buildings like that. So I'm the wrong person for that question. I'm gonna tell you straight that one of the problems that we run into is there's no infrastructure in place right now. Because that's why a black agenda is so important, because what ends up happening is government has experts, government has programs where they can incentivize programs for you to be able to set that up without us all figuring it out one by one building or something like that. Nothing's in place right now. Part of it is because none of us own the buildings. So then we're not pushing for that. Another part of it is we want to run slumlords. We want to take advantage of black folks. I appreciate you actually stepping in. Yeah, part of it is that what's going on is that black folks don't have real estate. Black folks ain't pushed for programs. Black folks are taking advantage of other black folks when they get a chance. I just wanted to say to you, I appreciate your message in and of itself. Anything you actually want to specifically say about Jay-Z though?
Oh, no, that's it. I'm going to hang up.
All right, man, caller. Thank you. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
John out of Chicago. Tone, what's up, man?
What up, John? Give me that smooth on it. What you think about Jay-Z and this whole wealth thing?
It's a whole bunch of garbage, man. The problem is there are too many of us who believe that we could actually do what they are saying Jay-Z has done. The striverism that you constantly and continuously talk about. You know, it's been given to us, and we see it in mass through advertisement. Capital is smart, man. They know exactly what to do, how to advertise to make us want everything that we see on TV or in any walk of life, via commercials or whatever, man. And you got a whole group of people that no matter how raggedy their life is, believe that they can be a Jay-Z with a lack of education, because there isn't a lot of us that are educated who are trying to achieve these things, man. I mean, I'm a small business owner myself, and I learned that I wasn't in business when I ran into the rough edge of my blackness every time I tried to go and get money to get capitalized to grow this trucking company. And I learned that it is a fact. I got one truck, and I'm my only employee. And it's not that I can't do business. It's just that I don't have the capital to do it. And I had to be honest with that. And when you put that in people's head or put that in children's head, it's hard to turn that thing off, bro.
Yeah, I agree. Look, man, we having this discussion. It's so many ways that black folks, that America has really like pulled a con on us. I think for a lot of us, it's really hard to understand that wealth calcified and what that means and how that reflects on our personalities. We got to get better. We got to understand. We got to make changes, because if we don't make changes, what's going to end up happening is we not going to have no wealth. I want to have
Tom,
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, and excuse me for interrupting you. And I constantly preach this to my children. Whatever you're doing, look at it from a point of reality. You have to have everything that you're trying to do based in your life's reality. And if I'm sorry, you're not going to have a job and get rich. They're not giving you jobs to get rich. And when Yvette came out with the comment after that dumb statement, what's better than one billionaire, two, the simple fact that a stable black community far outweighs any individual effort that anyone can do. We need a group effort, and I can't wait to see you guys and meet you guys in October. I'll be there. I got my tickets.
Let me say this. Shout out to everybody that's on the Dash Radio app. My battery went out on my Mevo, I think. So look, we having this discussion. We talking about Dash. We talking about this whole Jay-Z thing and the billionaire status. And I just wanted to make sure we all understand the impact of this thing, because I think we all making it up. We making it up like black folks, like we out here with just all the potential in the world, but we don't understand that if we don't raise up and start making changes, ain't nothing gonna happen for us. For a lot of us, what we want to do is act like we got $1 million too and we almost home.
Absolutely.
But we not almost home. Most of us have nothing in the account. We working. You know, the middle black family make $35,000. Two people across this country. I'm not guessing. This is the Bureau of Labor numbers. They feeding us numbers that the black unemployment is down. It ain't down. You look in Wisconsin, you look in Detroit, these black boys is unemployed.
Chicago.
Come on.
West Side, South Side, Cleveland, Detroit, Atlanta, all over the United States. Black males and just black people are suffering. And the bottom line is, it's like Dr. Kevin Cosby said on that show that you guys had. A lifeboat when the Titanic sinks is not meant to get you back to New York.
Come on.
We need reparations, man. Reparations is the only thing that's going to work. And like you said the other night on Yvette's show, we can't even convince our families to turn the game off and tune into Tone Talks, tune into Yvette Carnell. I try talking to people on the job, and Tone, for some damn reason, people don't want to hear it to the point where it hurts.
Yeah, they done made it all up. They done made it all up.
I preach it everywhere, man. I'm like, come on, man. Are you serious? You're not doing well. Your wealth position is zero. Tone, I've been driving trucks since 1986, and I don't have a retirement, man. I've been working.
You ain't alone. You ain't alone, bro. You ain't alone. Yeah. America built itself without those things. That's what this article is showing. That's what this wealth calcification means. It means that because Jeff Bezos has all that money, you can't be like your grandmama who didn't even have a high school diploma, who was able to transform her 2 hands into a home that all your family could live in. You can't be like her because in the end, they done took all the wealth. Now, I'm saying to you today that Jay-Z and what he did and what he represents ain't what you thinking. It ain't no rise up for one man to become rich off of selling liquor and Uber. What is a rise up is the reality of a black folks that demand 10 trillion. And I'm not talking just to be talking real. 10 trillion in reparations. So the whole group gets programs and advantages and privileges and free education and home loans and the same stuff that created white folks start creating black folks. And all of a sudden, we in game 2. Any last thing you want to say to the audience?
Hey, man, I just want to thank you, Dr. Cosby, Vet, Dr. Darity. I knew nothing of these names, man, until I started listening to you. And the one thing I'd like to say to the listening audience, man, is listen, man, this thing is serious. Listen, without reparations, we done in this country.
Come on.
We done in this country. Our children will starve to death.
Come on.
And you know what? The people that we're trying to get this reparations from, or that we're going to get this reparations from, don't care. But we got to force it down their throat because we have to care. We have to care about our children, man. I got a 30-year-old and a 22-year-old, and I want them to have a future. And I may not see the reparations, Tone, but my children and grandchildren, I want for them to see it, man. I believe in this thing. And that's why I preach it everywhere I go, man. I love you, man, and I'm glad that I found you.
Well, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much for calling in. Look, man, we gonna be out there in Louisville, October 4th and 5th. It's gonna be a powerful like conference. I think it's gonna be monumental in many ways. For me, in many ways, I can't help but look at this thing and ask the question: does Jay-Z benefit from Trump? Absolutely. This is not an accident. That's the year after the Trump tax cuts. I'm not saying that Jay-Z alone benefits from Trump or he benefits the most. What I am saying at the end of the day is he benefits. I don't care what kind of like little special he do on CNN, acting like Trump is the worst ever. The reality is that wealth bounced up because of Trump. It is a direct result of the Trump tax cuts. And I don't see no effort to say, I'm going to take all the money that came from the Trump tax cuts and give all of it to the ghetto. That I'm going to give all of it to ADOS. That I'm going to give all of it away. Instead, I see a celebration of the singularity of one fortune instead of the misfortunes of millions of black families across this country. For me, I think that I can't help but look and start to unpack this thing and ask the question, where do we go next? Where does black America go next? And a lot of us, where we gonna go is down. Because in our homes, we don't even know when somebody's saying something wrong to us. We sitting up planning Bitcoins and planning wealth events and planning how to manipulate other black folks. We not sitting up talking about how this government from a local, from a state, from a federal level is not doing right by us. I'm here to talk about this thing because we got to unpack it. Number 5, what is the psychology behind the black poor praising Jay-Z. I came out with the article, The Decadent Veil. In that article, what I show you is that wealth is more calcified within, first of all, wealth is more calcified in America than anywhere possibly ever in the modern world. Today, where you live. You might not believe it because white folks don't tell you how much money they got. It's not that school or college is expensive, you just not white. It's the right price. People paying that money. Now, my point is just to say to you that within race, if you look at our race versus white folks versus Gen Pop, we like multiple times worse. The black race might have higher wealth calcification within race between the top families and the bottom than anywhere ever. And y'all celebrating it, the fact that that exists. That's what you celebrate when Jay-Z being a billionaire makes you happy. And the reason I wanted to come to you today is to have this discussion because this discussion is profound, it's powerful, and it's necessary. I want y'all to grow. But growth requires you to get honest. It requires you to get real. It requires you to get straight with the reality of your wealth condition and how we change it together. Black folks better get real. Tone Toss is in the building. I'm not here to hate on Jay-Z. I'm here to talk about the truth of Black America and talk about how America at large needs to do right by working class people. There's no reason that we should live in a world where we're not able to amass assets and have kids that go on to pay for their college and able to buy homes. But that's where we at right now. I just wanted to come to y'all today, have a brief discussion. This is Tone Toss on Dash Radio, Dash Talk X. I want y'all to use the super chat, share this video, share it all across. I'm gonna put the final version up. Appreciate y'all tuning in and working through some of the technical difficulties. We out.